I am going to begin this video with a joke. I don't know if you can tell by looking at me, but I went through a really intense 21 Pilots phase. I got into 21 Pilots in 8th grade and I continued to be a fan until my freshman year of college. I was really into their music. I knew their discography front to back. I owned merch. I saw them live 3 separate times, and they're actually the reason that I started writing songs. A local college offered a songwriting camp for kids, and I took it when I was 13. And the instructor had us listen to car radio and analyze it as an example of good songwriting. So really it's his fault, if anything. They were my favorite band, and as a young fan, like many other young fans, I idolized them a lot. Not to the extent that some people did, but certainly a lot. I really loved Trench when that came out. That was the album that followed Blurry Face. I thought it was great. This was my favorite band for a long time. That all changed in August of 2020. Now, 21 Pilots had always been a pretty politically silent band. I basically thought that Tyler Joseph was a genius at this point, so I thought that that was a strategic move. And probably to an extent it was, but I was pretty disillusioned after the Platforms tweet. The Platforms tweet, for anyone not aware of this niche fandom drama, was a tweet that Tyler Joseph made in the midst of the Black Lives Matter movement in August of 2020, and it read, "You guys keep asking me to use my platforms. Feels good to dust these bad boys off." And then it was a picture of him wearing platform shoes. This was made even worse by the fact that he initially doubled down, said that it was a great tweet, and then he went on to kind of try to shift it to a mental health conversation. He eventually had to cave, and he posted that fundraising link tree that everyone was posting during the Black Lives Matter movement so that all of his 15-year-old fans that were defending him could donate instead of donating any of his millions of dollars. This made me really see the band differently. The way that Tyler Joseph immediately shifted the issue to a conversation about mental health once things began to go south for him, the way that fans were defending him by saying that he saved their life with his music, so nothing he said could be bad. It made me think a lot about who gets to relate to 21 Pilots, who gets to have these conversations about mental health, who gets to have problems that only exist in their head. It's not up to me to decide how big of a deal that was, or whether we accept his apology, or whether it's been long enough that it doesn't really matter anymore. I stopped listening to their music after that. I just couldn't see it the same way. I remained interested though, and I kept following what they were doing. When Scaled and Icy came out, I listened to it one time through, and I pretty much agreed with the other fans that it was bad. After that, it was like, maybe there was never anything there with this band. Maybe we were all just 14. That was an easy position for me to take because Scaled and Icy, I agree with most people that it was bad. So it was easy for me to not listen to their music, and suddenly the flaws in a lot of their other music became very apparent to me. So it was easy for me to be like, this sucks, I don't want to listen to it anymore. I'm going for like a Jenny Nicholson costume change situation. This is my Trench cosplay. So I had kept up with what the band was doing. So when they released Overcompensate, the single for their next album, this is gonna be underwhelming, but I thought that it was fine. When I first listened to this song and the blurry-faced voice came in and it was like, "Welcome back to Trench," I just started laughing. I thought that was pretty corny, along with all of the other references that came up in that first bit of the song. But overall, I thought the song was an okay, like, return to form. I thought that Tyler Joseph's vocals sounded pretty good, the drums were pretty good, I liked the bass. I really liked the bridge, actually. I found the bridge pretty catchy, but overall I thought that it was like fine. You know, like a pretty good 21 Pilots song, not something that I would really listen to now. Pretty good return to form. Then Next Semester came out. I sent my best friend Tessa, who is the only person who will see this video, a text while I was listening to this song, and I believe it said something along the lines of, "Unfortunately, this is good." I really liked the sung intro to the song with the bass. I liked the punchy chords once everything comes in. I thought that it was a really good single. I believe that Backslide was the 3rd single, and I did not listen to that when it came out, but I was always gonna listen to this album. This was a pretty good album. It is not a great album in my opinion. Like, I don't think I would recommend this to any of my friends, but I would recommend it to someone who used to be a fan. I think it's the best 21 Pilots album. I'll be One thing that makes this a pretty good album is Tyler Joseph's vocals, which under normal circumstances can be a little bit grating. They're really good here. This could be partly due to the production. There's a lot of parts here that are really layered. It sounds really cool, but he's sounding awesome. I also think the rapping, he's not a great rapper, but he at least sounds like relaxed, and I think that can help. This album is kind of a return to form. Songs like Vignette and Backslide and The Risk of Feeling Dumb sound very familiar. They've got the old darker rock sound that they were doing. They've got the rapping, and it's just not sounding quite as like bright and poppy as they were on Skilled and Icy. They're going back to a sound that works for them. The bass lines on this album are very strong, just both in terms of their melody and like the heaviness of the bass itself. The chorus melodies are great. The choruses on this album in general are very good. I want to highlight Backslide in particular. I think a lot of my friends would find the flow on this song cheesy, and it is cheesy, but I find it nostalgic. I grew up with this band, so I don't really mind the flow that much. The pre-chorus kind of foreshadows what the chorus melody and ending is going to be, and it really works for me. When you get to the chorus, it's the same melody, but it's yelled. It feels like it has a lot of emotional weight to it for me. I thought that was a very good song. I really liked that one. On the second verse, Tyler Joseph says, "Kinda wishing that I never did Saturday," which is like a song that he released that was widely criticized. It was the most widely criticized song off of Skilled and Icy because it was very poppy. I think it takes a lot of nerve to be like, yeah, this song I released kind of sucks and I wish I didn't do it. I don't know, I thought that was cool.
Wishing that I never did Saturday.
So this album is strong in returning to form, but it's also strong in abandoning the right parts of their old formats. So for example, there is no reggae song on this album. Every 21 Pilots album after Blurry Face, and I'm not counting Scaled and Icy because I'm not going back to listen to that again, and also because I consider it the departure from which we are returning. Blurry Face had a couple of reggae songs on it, most notably Ride was reggae inspired and it did really well, you know, just like on the pop charts. So they felt like, I think they felt like they had to include a reggae song on the following album. I don't know if this is a hot take, but the reggae songs that 21 Pilots makes, reggae inspired, whatever, they're always bad. I think abandoning this part of their usual format was smart. Additionally, there is a ukulele on this album, but I did not notice that in my first two listens. I thought that it was a guitar. I think that's because they have switched to a baritone ukulele, which I think it sounds a lot better. It's less noticeable, and it's usually in the background of songs. It only appears as the main instrument in one song, which, about that, by the way. I don't know if I'm on board with this title. Every 21 Pilots album since Blurry Face contains a little love song about Jenna Joseph, who is Tyler Joseph's wife. They're usually pretty fun and sweet, and this one is too. But it's a song about Jenna Joseph. It's not by Jenna Joseph. The title, for anyone who hasn't caught on, is based on the Taylor's Version series, which is a series that is all about Taylor Swift taking back the ownership of her masters. So they're her songs, and she owns the masters. Jenna Joseph, this is not her song. She doesn't own it, and it just feels weird to take this thing that's about owning your songs and using it to write a pretty traditional song about, you know, the woman being positioned as the muse. That's not to say that, like, there's anything wrong with this type of a song. I just don't like the invocation of that title. I'm sure I am overthinking this, but I also kind of feel like I am onto something or I would not have said it. It just rubs me the wrong way. But the song itself I think is pretty sweet, and it does position her in kind of a more powerful position in an interesting way, not in terms of the ownership of the song, but it does flip around the role that she usually plays in these types of songs. In the context of this album, it's a sequel to the album Trench, and Trench is this like imaginary world that is meant to symbolize being stuck in like, you know, kind of a mental health spiral. Tyler Joseph is trapped in that spiral, and he has a lot of songs, The Run and Go is a good example, where he is saying that he has trouble accepting help from other people. So in this song, when he says, "If I found my body in chains, I'd lay down and wait and hope she looks for me," that context makes this line in the song really compelling to me, because it positions her as kind of the hero in this situation. And it doesn't even say that she will come and get him. It says he hopes that she'll come and get him, and that's kind of an interesting choice too that I find compelling. Compare this to the Jenna song on Trench, Smithereens, where the song is just about Tyler Joseph being willing to beat up a bigger guy than him to protect her. And, you know, he's obviously the hero in that song, even if it's in kind of a self-deprecating way. This is very different than that, and I thought that was interesting. From my point earlier, this song does have just ukulele on it, and the ukulele is pretty understated. I didn't even know that that was what it was, because it's a baritone ukulele. It sounds pretty good, the chords are good. And when Tyler Joseph says, "Now I see intentions don't mean much," in the verse, after the situation with that tweet, I do not doubt that that is a lesson that he has had to learn in more ways than one, and I also found that interesting. I like the discussion of fame on this album. Tyler Joseph seems pretty self-aware about the fact that his fame has had a big impact on him and it puts a lot of pressure on him, but that it also ultimately puts him in a very privileged position. A lot of that discussion happens on the song Lavish, which...
Your friends that follow bots anonymous. Keep it cool, keep the mood androgynous.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Why'd you say that? Is this fucking play about us? I said it's a pretty good album. They can't all be winners.
What's your ETA? 2 minutes!
One thing that Tyler Joseph said in defense of Scaled and Icy is that it didn't really make sense for him to release a depressing album during the pandemic. It's already a very depressing time, so he wanted to release something that would kind of lighten the mood and be this like pop happy situation. And superficially, yeah, but when you listen to that, I find that album depressing personally because it doesn't sound like anyone involved is having any fun. The reason I get that sense is that Scaled and Icy doesn't really contain any of the cute, quotable lines that you get on other 21 Pilots albums that the fans really love. And you do get those types of things here, and I was happy to see that.
No, not me, it's for a friend. No, not me, it's for a friend. Denial. No, not me, it's for a friend. No, not me, it's for a friend. Denial.
Okay, so I actually do like this part of the song. I cannot explain why, but it also superficially reminds me of that one SNL skit.
It's part of the show, but it was
Censored.
because I couldn't say the word
Censored.
about the
Censored.
So I guess you'll never hear it because I was
Censored.
I don't know if that makes any sense at all.
It's for a friend.
You're not gonna catch me in 21 Pilots merch or at a 21 Pilots show anytime soon, but they remain kind of a fascination for me. And this album was refreshing to see. So I think I wouldn't recommend this to anyone that didn't like the band before, but if you used to be a fan, this may be worth checking out.